It's Corso and Catone. Brought to you by Corso Law Group, Arizona's leading criminal and traffic law firm. Now for the real deal New England feel. Corso and Catone.
Welcome into Corso and Catone, the real deal New England feel. I'm Corso. Catone is here as always. Joe is with us in the booth, and you're watching us on YouTube, listening on iHeartRadio, Apple Podcast, anywhere you podcast, and of course, 790 The Score in Rhode Island. And hey, give us a call. Heated hotline, 855-313-PATS, P-A-T-S. It's a message line. Have a take. Leave us a message 24/7. Mark checks them at like 4 in the morning, right?
Hey, please. Yeah, I can't sleep.
Actually, Joe's the only one who checks them, and he's the one who hears them, and Mark and I don't get to until the show. So give us a call and Heated Hotline, or you can email us in our mailbag, corso.catone@gmail.com. Got a good one today in Pat's Nation. We're going to talk offensive linemen. Hey, we're leading up to the draft now, Mark. So,
we're in crunch time, 3 weeks, crunch time.
We are in our draft preview, and there's all kinds of draft drama. Nice title. So we're going to talk offensive line, tight end a little bit, and we're going to talk some of the issues surrounding this draft and all the rumors and things like that. And of course, Catone's comments, you never want to miss that. In a weekly rewind, we're going to talk our NCAA brackets, the tournament. We're going to talk the women's bracket a little bit and their tournament, and we're going to talk a little Bruins as they, I guess, limp towards the playoffs. So
hey, maybe they'll surprise us this year, Chris. The total opposite of last year.
Well, we're going to hear from one of you in that segment, and hopefully give you a glimmer of hope. And of course, Yankees versus Red Sox. Want to talk a little bit about that, gentlemen. How was your week?
Yeah.
Happy belated Easter. Yeah.
That's right.
Oh, there we go. Yeah, for those people who celebrate. Yes.
We said Happy Easter last week.
I thought you did. I thought you did say Happy Easter.
Yeah, Mark said it. He said, for those of you who celebrate, Happy Easter. Did you guys have a nice Easter? What'd you have? Ham? Everybody's been debating ham or lamb.
Lamb or ham? Really?
Yeah.
Really?
What do you,
We had ham. What about you?
Ham.
Ham. Yeah, I had ham. We had ham.
I think ham was the big winner this year.
Also have that ham pie that my mother likes to make.
Oh, man.
Pie,
We actually talked about that at our dinner table as we missed it.
Well, you got to talk about it. I got to have it.
I know.
So I got to have it too, Joe.
And I got a nice little Easter egg that I colored for Mark, but I can't show it on camera.
You know what? Easter egg. Listen.
But we want to get right into this draft, and we need to get to our draft preview. We're going to do it in Pat's Nation. Let's go, Joe. Three weeks from now, right, Mark?
3 weeks.
The draft is coming. This is like
3 weeks.
This is like Christmas for us,
Well, it is until they make their pick, and then we fight for like 3 hours after.
Well, it's Christmas in the sense of we're disappointed with the gifts we get.
Yeah.
Every single damn year, spoiled.
Maybe this year will be different.
We are. So, Mark, looking at this, and we want to break down some positions leading up to the draft. Not all of them. We're not going to break every little position down, but some of the ones that are noteworthy and what the Patriots are desperately needing. So we're going to go offensive line, tight end today, talk a little bit about that. Next week, we'll go wide receivers. Don't want to miss that. And then we're going to hit our quarterbacks last, a little bit of defense. So right before the draft. So, Mark, let's start with the tight ends, if you're okay with that.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So let's start with the tight ends because they got Hooper on the roster. They got Hunter Henry.
Do you know I was watching, Chris, the other day? I'm watching on the NFL Network because I'm so battered out to watch football. They're replaying the Patriots Atlanta Super Bowl, and he was on Atlanta's roster. He stunk then. 2018, he stunk, and we signed him.
Austin Hooper?
Yes.
Yeah, he sucks. Okay, so we basically have a tight end and a half. So,
I'm sorry, not even 2018, Chris. That Super Bowl was what, 17?
16.
16, he stunk, and we signed him now.
Yeah, because Seattle was 14, Atlanta 16, and then the Rams were 18.
He stunk in 16, and we're signing him in 2024. What is wrong with us?
Lots. So talk to us about tight end. What's out there? Because there's a few good ones.
So there's a few good ones, but so at the top of the draft board, Chris, is the kid from Georgia, right? Brock Bowers, which you're not going to draft him. And then the kid Sanders from Texas. Both of those guys are kind of athletic freaks, and they're going to go in the first round. And you can't take obviously a tight end in the first round, Chris. All right, that's not happening, right? And then when you go down the board,
not them.
Well, no, not them. They can't. But then when you go down the board, Chris, there's a couple of guys. Guy that's real athletic that I think is going to be a good tight end, but I still think he'll go a little too early for us. Is the kid Theo Johnson from Penn State, right? He's real athletic, real quick off the ball. He blocks well. He's strong. He does a lot of things that we don't have on this team.
Can play on the line.
Can play on the line. Absolutely. Yeah. The only thing that a lot of the tight ends in this draft lack, Chris, besides the top two, is that over the top late speed where you can run away from somebody. They don't have that. These tight ends don't really have that. Bowers does and Sanders, but other than that, but these guys are good in short spaces, Chris, and using their bodies and getting off the line and blocking. So this is a pretty decent tight end group. But the kid from Penn State, Chris, I think has the potential to be like a sneaky, like, hey, I thought it was only Bowers and Sanders, and this kid's going to put up huge numbers too. I think he's going to be that next guy. But I think he'll go too early, Chris.
Yeah.
Everyone's talking about the tight end, Cade Stover from Ohio State. I looked at tape on him, Chris. He can't get off man-to-man coverage. I don't like him at the NFL level.
Where did you see him going?
Well, he was a defensive end who turned into a tight end. So he has a lot. So he has a lot to learn. Like to me, he's a guy. If you get him in the fourth, fifth, maybe not even fourth, I'd say fifth. I'd take a shot if he's there in the fifth round. I mean, he's a big, strong, athletic guy, but he's got a lot to learn, Chris. Like I said, he struggles in man-to-man coverage. And that's not a good sign in the NFL if you're struggling with man-to-man coverage. But he struggles.
No, because you're going to get locked up. You're going to get locked up with safeties, and you're going to get locked up with linebackers. And the way how athletic the linebackers are today, they can cover. Tell me about the guy you really like.
The guy I really like, and I told you this before the combine, and then he popped at the combine, and everybody knew who he was. Ben Sinnott from Kansas State, Chris. The kid's got a great acceleration burst. He quickly covers ground, right? He's on defenders quickly. So he's challenging them immediately off the line. And he creates problems because, Chris, he's 6'4", 250, right? So he's got that build that we like, right? He's 6'4", he's 250. He's got that burst. He exhibits, he can find the ball, Chris. He can fight for balls. He uses his body in the red zone, Chris. He can hold off people in the end zone, use his body and come down with the ball, which is important for a tight end. And Chris, he can block. He's a blocker. Okay. He's even good at the second level, Chris. Of like second tier, you look at but he gets in the NFL. You gotta carry the block
to the linebacker level.
Get to the linebacker level. He does that, Chris. This kid, I project him as probably he'll be a second day guy. He's not gonna be a first day guy, but I think I don't think he goes much past the fourth round. I would take him in the fourth round, Chris, because you need a tight end.
Third day,
Oh, third day. I'm sorry, third day.
Yeah,
he's a third day guy. I don't think he goes before the fourth round, but he's the guy I got highlighted, circled. I want him because I think he would complement Henry.
I like him. I liked him in the combine. I thought that corner route when they were running that drill where they run a corner route, which you're going to see a lot from tight ends. His inside dip, was sharp, clean, meaning like he leans in and then cuts to the corner and. I thought it was really, really sharp, and we don't need a receiver like, you know what I mean? We don't need that thing. We got Hunter Henry. We need a guy like you're talking about that can play on the line too.
And I think he'd be a good compliment to Henry. But another guy, Chris, I like to replace Henry in like 2 years. And I think you could get him in the fifth round, sixth round, probably fifth round, maybe. Yeah. Is a kid you probably saw out in Arizona. The tight end for Arizona, Tanner McLachlan.
Yeah.
Okay, Chris, he's smooth. He's a smooth catcher. He's fast. He sets up DBs. He's good in space. The kid's just a smooth route runner for a tight end. He doesn't block extremely well, but neither does Hunter Henry. He's not going to play that tight end role. But he's a guy that could replace a Hunter Henry if you're looking for that type of a replacement. And I think the kid would be there probably in the 5th round, Chris.
He hides his hands well. And he's strong.
I've seen him I've seen him live in the bowl game that they played in, Chris. And let me tell you something. The kid can catch the ball. Those are the tight ends, Chris, that I think, and usually I do hit on a tight end every year. The kid from Kansas State is my guy, Chris. But I do think the kid from Penn State will be good, but he'll go too early. And like I said, the Arizona, and this kid, I think, Chris, also he'll be a Hunter Henry type. But the type of tight end we need is a kid from Kansas State. And listen, they never listen to us, but
no.
I know you were very impressed at the combine with him.
I liked him a lot. So now shifting over to tackle, to offensive line, Mark, a little bit. Let's talk about this. And I'm gonna exclude the interior lineman right now, because tackle's who we really, this is what everybody's looking at. So you have the two obvious, the 1st round guys, the top, couple top 10 guys, maybe top 20. You got Joe Alt from Notre Dame, and you got Fasciano, okay, from Penn State. Now, depending on what they do. So if New England decides they're going to trade, and they're going to trade down, and then, now they want to take a tackle, well, these two guys will be the guys you're looking at. Most people are high on Alt. They like him, 6'9", 321, All-American. He's a 3-year starter, so he's got more experience than Fasciano, who only played 2 years. But to me, Mark, I like the kid from Penn State.
Okay.
If I'm taking one of these guys, I'm taking him. I just think, again, I know he's only played the 2 years. I get that. But he, to me, is the top player. I mean, he's projected. He was originally a top 15 pick, and then he decided to play another year. Okay. And now he's got a chance to be top 10. 6'6", 312. Explosive, good feet, drops really, really well. There's not really too many people that are true left tackles in this whole draft, though.
They're probably the only two, right?
I would say those really the only two. Everybody else now. So you're talking about those guys now. Other 1st round talent, other guys that may get into the 1st round. You're talking about, and I don't say these guys' names right at all. So Fuaga from Oregon State, and you're talking about Latham from Alabama, and what's his name? Fontenot from Washington. Okay. Now those
Latham,
are all.
I think he played some left tackle for Alabama, didn't he?
He did. Latham played a little bit of left tackle. I think that he's, you look at what they with their. When you start to get into the 2nd round or late in the 1st, 2nd, 3rd round, now you have to look at the opponents. Okay. So you're looking at Alabama and who they play. And those are the guys that you want to start to look at. Oregon State, Washington. You want that Pac-12 that is no more. And so I tend to look at a guy like from Alabama. So those are the 3 guys that may be, and we may not have a shot at them because they may be late in the 1st round. But I do like this. I like Fontenot. The only thing I don't like about from Washington is that he didn't protect Penix's blindside. Penix was a left-handed quarterback.
Yep.
So he played on the left side. So I guess, you could play him at left tackle, but he never protected anybody's blind side. Bothers me a little bit. If you're gonna spend a 1st round pick on somebody, that bothered me a little bit about him. Yep. But those are really the 1st round guys. Those are the guys you're going to be looking at, and they're all good. Listen, this is as deep of a tackle draft as I've seen in years. Okay, so they're all going to be good. Now, when you start to get into day 2, okay, and they got a high pick, they got 34th pick. So if you keep in that pick and you're sitting there, now you're going to be looking at Mims from Georgia. You're looking at Guyton from Oklahoma. Good tackle schools, good offensive lineman schools. Play the right people. 6 foot. Mims 6'8", 340. He's really raw though. Okay, He only has 8 college starts, so not a guy that I would typically
Not
go
that
to.
high.
Okay, Guyton, I would see a little bit more. He's 6'8", 322. He's one of the best movers in the position with his footwork and that kind of thing. But again, not as much starting experience. And both of them left and right tackle, some of these guys played. So, but let me just jump to the guy that I think that I would like to see them take. Because to me, Mark and I want other things done in this draft.
Yeah.
Right? We want other things done before tackle. Okay, in my opinion. We talked about that. In day 2, love this kid, Patrick Paul from Houston. Okay, 6'7", 331 pounds, 36 and a quarter inch arms. I mean, he's got good reach. He's one of the biggest players in the draft. He's got good size, but his athleticism is off the charts, man. This guy in Houston. I mean, okay, it's not a school that you're playing against.
Yeah.
Elite defensive ends or anything like that. But just looking at him and what he does, he for his size, he moves. He can mirror pass rushes really, really well. And there will be guys that can use his size against him. So they're gonna have to, coach him up. But this is the guy I think.
Where would he project, Chris?
I would say he's going to be in day 2, probably somewhere around 40 to 50 in that range.
So you probably would have to waste your second round pick on him, unless you got an additional second round pick if you traded down.
Yeah, well, this is if they move. This is if stop moving.
If they move,
picks.
Okay.
But if they quarterback in the first round and then they decide to go tackle in second with that 34th pick, now you're not looking at that guy now. You're back to what we were talking about in those earlier guys I just mentioned. Those are the guys that you're going to Mims, Guyton. Those are the kind of guys. Jordan Morgan from Arizona, Sumataya from BYU. I don't even know if I'm saying that right. These guys. I don't really like the guy from Yale. I'm not. These guys around New England are big on this kid from Yale. And I bet you Belichick would love him, but I'm not really big on him. So those are the names to look for offensive line. I know who the hell wants to talk about offensive linemen, right, Mark? But with us, with this team,
we're gonna have to.
You need it. It was bad, and they got to have it. So
especially Chris, because other than Owenu, they didn't go sign anybody. So they didn't sign any other veteran tackles. So they forced themselves to use draft picks.
Right now, the starters are going to be right tackle Owenu. Okafor is going to be the left tackle. Then you got backups like Calvin Anderson, Connor McDermott, Lowe, Wheatley. Nobody that makes you feel good. I mean, you walk in starting with Okafor.
Chris, you had the money to bring in a
Owenu.
veteran tackle. I just don't know
Tyron
what
Smith.
they would. And he signs a 1-year contract, Chris, somewhere. I just don't know what we were doing. I still don't understand it.
No, it's irritating as hell. And so,
but
did
his girlfriend want to live somewhere else too?
She didn't like that either. I guess she didn't.
She didn't like New England.
She liked
either?
New York,
All right.
but she didn't like
New York. All right.
That's what it was. So So with the couple minutes we have left, and next week we're going to break down wide receiver too. There's going to be some fireworks on that one. But we need a tackle. We need a tight end. These are the guys you should be looking at. Mark, this week lots of talk about draft predictions and if they should trade out and what are they going to do. Elliott Wolf, we'll talk about quarterbacks and the McCarthy thing, but are they trading this pick? And what should they do if they do trade it? Like, should they be still in the top 10? Should it be a Giants trade with the Giants? Or
I wouldn't
like
trade. Well, put it this way, Chris. Here's the thing. If you're trading out of the top 10, then you're running the risk. Listen, I'm not a fan. I don't like J.J. McCarthy, but most people have him rated 4th, maybe Elliott Wolf, I guess 3rd. But if he's one of your top 4 guys on the board, chances are if you go to 11 or 12, he won't be there. So now you run the risk of, okay, now who are you drafting? Is that too early to take a guy like Penix? Penix you probably can get later in the first round. So do you trade down again and get more collateral? Like, I don't know.
No, you take a damn receiver, right? In that spot.
Well, I would think that, but then how do you get the quarterback?
Well, you got to trade back up in because Penix will have to be the guy or Bo Nix. I don't want Nix. But
I don't want Bo Nix at all.
I don't want McCarthy either, man. And Mark, lastly, why don't they work this week? You know, because they have a rookie coach, the Patriots could have opened up camp this week. They could have been working.
Well, I know,
I
know Washington and Atlanta with two brand new coaches started this week.
Right.
Raheem
By the way,
Morris
coaches
and
that
the
have
guy
already-
Quinn started.
Yeah,
Coaches.
They've been coaches, and they still knew better.
They knew better. They started early.
Because Mayo says, you know, we got to get, as coaches, we got to get on the same page.
What
the
does
hell you
that
been doing
mean?
for 2 months?
Maybe if you didn't go reach out to the island of misfit toys to get some of your coaches, maybe that wouldn't have been a problem.
It's ridiculous. And by the way, it isn't as if the players are coming in and getting coached up. They're coming in and they're working out. They're in the weight room. They're doing these kinds of things. So there's just no good reason for this team to not start. And they're behind, man. They're behind. Everybody out there, this team is behind. The coaching staff is behind. They've had 2 months to get ready. They're still not ready. And we're in trouble.
We are in a lot of trouble, Chris. We're in a lot of trouble. Let me tell you something. This roster, as I was looking at it yesterday, Chris, in preparation for the show, it's bad. I don't care who they re-sign. Okay, yeah, you re-sign guys from a 4-win team. This is a bad roster, Chris. It's bad.
Yeah. And Robin Glazer and Jonathan Kraft, who are supposedly running this team right now behind the scenes, come out from the shadows and start answering some freaking questions. Seriously. Because you're running this damn team into the ground if it's you two. So come out from the shadows and start sitting down and justifying some of the crap that's going on this team right now. Right, Mark? So
yeah, it's bad. Bad.
So let's hear from you in a heated hotline on that. Next week, we're going to be breaking down the wide receivers and talk about a little more movement in the draft, see where we think they'll go. So Pats Nation was presented by CORSO Law Group, CORSOLawGroup.com. Hey, when we come back, buckle up. Catone's comments is next.
No one ever thinks they will be in need of a criminal or traffic lawyer, but things happen. CORSO Law Group is Arizona's leading criminal and traffic law firm. Call or go online to CORSOLawGroup.com and talk with these expert attorneys who I know will help.
Time for Catone's comments!
So later on in the show, we're going to talk about the NCAA basketball tournament, male and female. And so with that, there's something I want to talk about that I really haven't had an opportunity to really talk about. That's kind of near and dear to my heart, because as you all know from when I talk about baseball, I'm a traditionalist, right? You know me. I'm a dinosaur. I'm a traditionalist. So I have to talk about this transfer portal, specifically as it pertains to college basketball. I understand it's in football but in college basketball, because of you have a limited roster, you don't have as many guys on a roster as you do in college football, and as many scholarships available to you. It really has affected college basketball. For those of you that don't know what the NCAA transfer portal is, as soon as the regular season, the conference tournaments end, the transfer portal opens up. And what that is anybody who doesn't like their playing time, is disgruntled, thinks they're better than they really are, you can go into the transfer portal, negotiate whatever you want. You're looking for money, whatever it may be, and you're free to go. There's no sitting out. There's no nothing. Last year, the NCAA even did away with the double transfer waiver, where you needed a waiver if you wanted to go back into the portal. Now you don't even need that. There had to be a special circumstance if you did it back-to-back years. That's even gone. So now you can just go in and you can just go from school to school. It's just like signing one-year contracts. It's free agency. It's NFL free agency. But this isn't the NFL. They're college. It's supposedly college-age kids. And you're trying to build a roster in a way that these coaches have never done before. In the old days, when I began to love college basketball, watching the Big East, you had guys like Patrick Ewing and Chris Mullen and Pearl Washington, and those guys, it seemed like they were there forever. And everybody knew who they were, and you'd tune in on a Saturday afternoon to watch the Big East game of the week. Those days are gone. the college basketball has changed. A perfect example is the Kentucky Wildcats. John Calipari is the coached at UMass locally, right? So he realized the college basketball landscape was changing. And the first major change in college basketball was the so-called, they called them one and dones, where you'd get these blue chip 5-star basketball players, bring in as many as you could bring in, and then they're going to the year, and you're going to flip your entire roster over. Nobody really wanted to do that because every year you were turning your roster over. Calipari said, screw it. I'm going to do it. I'm going to my pitch is going to be, I'm going to get you millions of dollars. I'm going to get you into the NBA. I'm going to showcase you and feature you. And then you'll be on your way, and I'll get you your millions of dollars, and I'll get you your first round draft pick in the NBA. So that's how he started recruiting kids. That was his pitch. And they swarmed to Kentucky. He won a national championship doing that with Anthony Davis and that crew. And he made a couple of Final Fours. They had a lot of success doing that. Well, the transfer portal has changed that even, because it's not, I bring in 10 freshmen, they're one and done, and I bring in another 8 freshmen the following year. Now it's, you may be here for a year, and then you go into the portal, but you're working with guys that are 22 and 23 years old who are different. Their bodies are different. They're grown men. And Calipari is now going to have to change again. He thought he was ahead of the curve with the one and dones. Well, now he's behind the curve because this year he lost to Oakland. They played the University of Oakland. Guy from Oakland hits 10 3-pointers. You know how old that kid was? That kid was 24 years old. He was playing against 18-year-old freshmen because Calipari, 3/4 of his team were freshmen. 18-year-old, 19-year-old at the most, freshmen. He was a 24-year-old grown man who had been to 3 other schools. The center for NC State that everybody's talking about coming up in the Final Four, that's going to get his lunch handed to him, by the way, by Edie from Purdue, but that's another issue. He's 24 years old. He's 24 years old. He's a grown man. These guys used to be in the NBA for 2 years, 3 years. Now that with this NIL money, they stay in college basketball. But everybody chastised Calipari when he did one and done. The NCAA transfer portal has ruined college basketball. Jay Wright, the NCAA basketball tournament, great Villanova coach, retired because he didn't want to deal with the portal, said the days of Kentucky winning are over unless Calipari changes. You can no longer bring in somebody and teach them and bring in a group of young kids because you're playing grown men. Unless you balance your roster out with men, you can't win. It's impossible. Connecticut backcourt, Cam Spencer is a 22, 23-year-old transfer portal guy. Tristan Newton, transfer portal guy, 23 years old. They're grown men. They're physically bigger. They're stronger. They're grown men. Listen, this is supposed to be a college sport for kids. Let's go back to the purity of college basketball, please. Please, because I'm a traditionalist. This transfer portal is driving me crazy. Crazy.
So, listen, just for reference, Jason Tatum's 26 years old.
Okay, these guys are 24 playing college basketball, Chris.
And Tatum's already been to what?
Tatum was basically a one and done. I think he came out right after his freshman year.
Yeah. But to your point, these guys are too old. I mean, they're sitting in there. So tell me then, why the hell? And look, this is one of your more thoughtful Catone's comments, honestly.
Oh, Joe!
A lot of times. No, you know what? I mean, I know a lot of times we laugh, we joke, we have a lot of fun with it.
Yeah.
Today's the technical day, Joe. We're very technical today.
Very technical.
But no, I mean, he's right. It's well thought out. I mean, so then why aren't these schools why isn't Kentucky just, get in that portal then? What is his reluctance to do it? I mean, saw Saban leave in football, not to cross sports. But he had enough of it.
He had enough of it.
And the NIL money and all that.
Rick Pitino has bashed it. He's still coaching because he loves coaching. He's bashed it. The guy from Villanova, Jay Wright, is still a relatively young guy. He should still be coaching.
Yeah.
He was at the top of his game, Chris. That's why he left. He wasn't dealing with this crazy.
Well, then why don't they get it? Why aren't they getting on board? Like, why aren't they pulling guys from the portal then? Why aren't they just playing Dion and just being like, I'll take him, whatever, let's go.
Well, because
and using it as free agency.
Well, I think Patino is starting to do that now. Calipari at Kentucky, Chris, feels as though he would rather do a service for young kids and set them up for and I know, listen, Calipari's no angel. He's had some shady recruiting practices. And they claim, guys get supposedly when he was at UMass getting paid from boosters, giving them Rolexes and all this stuff. So he's not lily pure and innocent by no means. However, his stance is, I want to do right by these young kids and get them paid at the next level. I don't want a 23, 24-year-old kid. But I think he's going to have to change now because I think he got a lot of heat from the boosters and the alumni down there. I don't know if he can survive another year if he doesn't go to a Final Four next year. So I'm interested to see. He's got a lot of kids leaving if he goes to the portal because he's got the number 2 recruiting class in the country. Again, coming in. So again, he's got young kids coming in. So yeah. I don't know what he's going to do.
You're not going to be able to do it at a big school.
Listen,
so if you want to teach, you're going to have to go to a small school, use your name to get the best guys you can, and then you can teach. You can't be idealistic anymore. You just can't.
Chris, the days of developing a guy at Villanova, he would develop guys and have point guards. He'd have a factory. Guys would sit for 2 years, and then their junior and senior year, they were all Americans. He did that for like 8 years in a row, and all those guys are now in the NBA. Brunson, Hart. They're all in the NBA, but that's what he did, right? Yeah. The kid, Lowry, that won a championship with Toronto. But last point, Chris, a couple years back when Cooley took PC to the Sweet 16, they lost to Kansas, and it was a 3-point game with a minute to go. And Kansas ends up winning the national championship. We could have knocked them off. PC had the oldest team in college basketball that particular year between kids who stayed extra time because of COVID and because he went in and got transfers that were 23 years old, that had been in college for 4 or 5 years, some of them 6 years. We had the oldest team in college basketball that year, and we almost knocked off the national champion. And we probably would have went to the Final Four if we won that game. But he had the oldest team in college basketball, Chris.
Yeah. Case in point. Just physically.
Case in point.
Yeah, Mark, you're right. And it's interesting to see what's going to happen over the next several years in football as well, as to how this thing's shaping up and how it plays out, especially when you have tournaments like this with guys, teams can get knocked off, and now you have the physical situation. So, Mark, thoughtful, good Catone's comments today. Catone's comments was presented by Corso and Catone, 12 to 1 p.m. Eastern every Saturday. Sponsorships are available. Make sure you send us an email, corso.catone@gmail.com. Hey, we come back. We're going to go back in the week, discuss a few things in Weekly Rewind. No flipping.
Mark, I'm serious. I think I lost my mind.
Certainly, it was an exciting show.
I want Murray.
That's
it.
What is wrong with you?
Get him on this damn show.
You lost your mind tonight.
That's all I have to say.
Lost your mind.
What are you writing now?
So I'm working over here. You're talking about nonsense. I'm working.
That's why we are the real deal New England Feel. It's going to be real.
Back in with more Corso and Catone. Okay, Mark, let's go back in the week that was. We're going to do that in Weekly Rewind. We're going to do it now. Going back through the week. About a Weekly Rewind. So, Mark, we're in the Final Four of the men's NCAA tournament, both men's and women at this point, at this stage. And so let's talk about opera. By the way, Joe dug up his bracket.
Throw that bracket in the garbage.
So
where did he get that up from?
I found it. I copied it, and I forgot that I copied it. Somebody had handed it to me.
You buy that, Mark? Or?
No, I don't. No, I don't buy it.
We'll accept it because he got his brains beat up anyway, according to this bracket. So, but looking at the Final Four, Mark, these are. You said, I will say that. And by the way, for those you want excitement, you want us to get irritated. We're going to get I'm going to be getting a little irritated in this segment. We get to the women's tournament, but in a second. But anyway, talking about the men's. So you got UConn playing Alabama. You got NC State, Purdue. Now, you said before this all began, you gave a statistic and remind me, you said for the last how many years, what is it, at 11? Was it a number 11 that got to the Final Four every year? For the
it was a 7 or higher has gotten to the Final Four.
Well, there you go. Year. NC State sitting there.
It was like 13 out of 16 years or something. Yeah.
Yeah. Now they're going to get their brains beat in by
Purdue. They're going to get their brains beat in, but hey, they're there.
But it's probably, I will say that the better of the two games is going to be this Alabama-UConn game. Now, I say that. I mean, UConn in the last game they played against Illinois, that Illinois got that thing to like 5 points. It was like a 3-5 point game, maybe even tied up at one point. It was tied up at 23.
It was tied.
This is what it was.
23.
It was 23. But then UConn went on like a 30-0 run.
Yeah.
And just blew the game. And plus they're playing in Boston, so it was
it was a home game. It was a home game.
It was all UConn fans, and they just blew it apart. And ended up winning 77-52. But so when you look at this Final Four, I mean, Joe and I both have UConn and Purdue. That's what I have in the final. I mean, I had all ones in the Final Four.
Yeah.
Not a big stretch, What do you see? I mean, you just see UConn. That's it. I mean,
so I think, Chris, I'd like to see Purdue make it because I want to see Edey play against Klingon from UConn, the two big guys, because Klingon's 7'2".
Everybody wants that right now,
right? And I think Klingon is too athletic for him. I think he'll get him in foul trouble, and I think the UConn guards will drive to the basket and force him to play defense and get him in foul trouble. I think UConn's backcourt will eat Purdue up if Purdue gets through. Alabama's going to be interesting, Chris, because Alabama goes up and down the court and just keeps shooting. And if they're cold, they just keep shooting until they get hot.
Like the Celtics.
Yeah, they're like the Celtics. That's a good comparison, Chris. They just keep shooting.
Yeah.
Right? The only problem with that is this. Their best player is a guard. He's about 6'1", maybe. The kid Shade, I think. Shea, the guard, number 1. UConn's going to put their guard on him, 6'5", the kid Castle, the freshman. They're just going to put him on him and say, sure, take him away. Because every team's leading scorer in the backcourt is taken away the whole NCAA tournament. They're going to say, okay, take, because Hurley,
like a blanket.
Because that's what Hurley does. And so if that happens, Alabama may have a problem. I just think UConn just comes at you in waves, Chris, in waves. And I just think Alabama struggles underneath the basket. I think UConn wins that game by double digits. It may be close early, but I think UConn pulls away. I don't know what Hurley does at halftime in these games, Chris. They come out in the second half and they just blitz you, and you can't keep up.
Well, listen, and we're talking about NC State Purdue. That's a throwaway game. Hey, you never know.
You never know, Chris. You never know. This NC State keeps surprising people.
So we'll see what happens. Because if UConn ends up going against NC State, I mean,
oh my God,
give them the Jackets now.
It'd be a blowout.
Jackets now. So those games are going to be on Saturday. So stay tuned for that. And then the national championship's going to be Monday. So the next time we talk to you,
Chris,
there will be one crown.
Just for the record, I know we're filming on a Thursday. It's the NIT tonight. Big East is playing for the NIT championship too. The team that should have been in the tournament, Seton Hall, who was better than so many teams that they let in, has shown that they just blowing through the NIT.
Everybody, I mean,
they're rolling everybody. So I hope they win tonight, just so they can stick it to that selection committee.
So now, probably more entertaining and more better ratings is going to be the women's side of things. In their tournament, and they're in the Final Four. And I'll tell you what, they pulled a 12 million viewer.
Okay, they set a record, Chris. I think
set the record. They had 12 million viewers for that Iowa LSU game the other night. LSU Iowa, right? They set a record. 12 million viewers. Ratings were off the charts, and it lived up to it. I mean, it really did. Now, Mark, here's the thing. Okay. And this has been going on all week long. You've been listening to this. So is it that the people are interested in the basketball? I mean, everybody wants to see Clark. I get that because she's amazing. Amazing. She's much better than a lot of the. I mean, she the way she passes the ball, the way she just facilitates. She's just all around. And forget shooting, but she's such a good facilitator, which is what makes her game so damn good, and what opens her up to be able to score also. But anyway, that aside for a minute, is it the drama though? Was it more the drama that got the people watching with this whole Reese?
I think it was a little bit of both, Chris. I'm going to be honest with you. I think it was a little bit of both. I think, listen, Caitlin Clark is get yourself a bag of popcorn, a cold beverage, whatever your beverage of choice is, because it's sit down and watch her. Because, like you said, Chris, it's facilitating. It's shoot. She pulls up like Curry. She pulls up from the logo and hits shots. So it's must see TV every time she plays. Okay, so that was definitely a big part of it. But I think you are right, Chris. And for those people who don't know what has gone on the last few days, you say drama with Reese. Like, you may want to explain a little bit about what that was, but I definitely think that played into it.
So Angel Reese, standout All-American player for LSU, was a national champion. Will have a fantastic pro career. I mean, both of these will be. You know, a lot of people saying, "Oh, let's hope it's like Bird Magic when they come in together and just keep knocking heads." But basically, what and this is a person that, if you could take her heart and her tenacity and all her, play the villain role, and you could put that into Tatum, can you imagine what he would be like? Right? She's the kind of player that likes to play the villain. Does a lot of talking, has had some controversial statements and things that have been made throughout the years she's been doing this past year, and played the role well, right, Mark? I mean, she played that role well. She played the villain role well and is in the spotlight and all that. Well, here's where I'm irritated, okay? The game happens. They lose the game. Now we're sitting in the press conference after. Now we're sitting in the post game, and she's up on the dais with the other two of the other players. And it's a Cry Me a River friggin' scene now. Okay? It's a feel bad for me. Everybody's been against me. I've been through so much. It's been so difficult for us. I try to persevere. I use my support system around me. You'd have no idea what I've gone through. Look, here's the thing, okay? There's never a need to go over the line for any fans. I mean, let's just put that out there. Race should never, nothing. These people in the stands and these people yelling things, it's terrible. Hate things. Let me make sure everyone understands that I'm totally against that. You don't, just because you buy a ticket doesn't mean you could say anything you want, right? However, if you're going to put yourself out there as that villain, if you're going to run your mouth, say all the things that you say, you know what, kid, you better expect it, because here it all comes. That's it. It's coming at you, Chris, just like the men. Chris, it's no different than the guys. We wouldn't give the guys a pass on any of this. And I've been listening all week, Mark.
Wasn't there something written this week that her coach had to respond to? Kim Mulkey responded. There was an article written by somebody out in California. I didn't see the article, but I think they made reference to women, and I think they might have referenced Reese in the article, and Mulkey really kind of laid into the person. And then I think the person apologized. And I apologize for not knowing what exactly was said, but I will find that out, Chris, so we can follow up on this next week. But I think that also led to this emotional thing at the end of the game, and it was the end of her career. She knew she was going pro, right?
Which is fine.
And yeah.
But I mean, am I off base here? Am I wrong? See what I mean? You have to worry about even saying anything. Look, like I said, if these were the guys, if these were NBA guys, whoever, even college guys, look, you got to deal with it, man. You got to deal with it. If you're going to put yourself out there, you're going to now, nobody should ever have to deal with hate. Nobody. Okay. But Mark, come on, that press conference made me want to throw up. Like, come on.
Right.
Everybody's against me. I've had to endure. I mean, give me a break. Then next time, play the game. Don't talk. Don't say anything. Just play basketball then. And then you don't worry about any of this stuff. But if the more you put yourself out there, the more stuff you say, the more you're going to get back. And that's just the way it is. That's just life. It's terrible, some of it, but that's the way it is, Mark, no?
Yeah, no, I get. Yeah, it's life. Yeah, you put yourself out there. Listen, when you're a public figure and you're an elite athlete, unfortunately, in 2024, you're in the spotlight, right? When you're an elite athlete, whether it's professionally or at the collegiate level, and she won a national championship last year. She ran into a little bit of trouble at the beginning of the year where she disappeared. They couldn't find her. I don't know. She missed a game or something. So. But when you're an elite athlete at that level and you put yourself in the public eye, you're going to be overly scrutinized and people are going to say things that probably shouldn't be said, that are inappropriate. And we know it's inappropriate what people are saying. But unfortunately, when you get to that level, she's young, right? She's a kid. Listen, I'm going to give her a pass. She's a kid, right? At the heart of this, she's still a kid. But she's going to have to learn to grow some thicker skin because, unfortunately, like you said, Chris, there's a lot of mean people out there.
There are
who spew hate. Who they think that it's their right to say whatever they want to say. They're a bunch of jerks. But so I kind of get what she. I'm not saying saying it was okay, but I get where she was coming from because at the end of the day, yes, she's a kid, right? And she had she melted down.
You wouldn't be saying that if you won. None of that crap.
No. You're 100% right. You're 100% right. I will say that. You're right. I
mean,
No, you are right.
So, I mean, at some point you're going to say this anyway. I mean, so I don't know. It rubbed me wrong when things like that happen. And people in general rub me wrong anyway. All the jerks and fools out there that run their mouth, like you said. So, that's that. Now,
and the game was a great game, Chris.
Oh yeah. This hopefully takes nothing away from the game because it was fantastic. Now, Mark, I'm gonna bring up the Bruins real quick. And by the way, Celtics next week. We're gonna be talking playoff preview for the Celtics.
Well, wait a minute, Chris. Though, before we move on to the Bruins, who are you picking, Iowa or UConn?
I'm taking Iowa.
Yeah.
I'm taking Iowa because I think that I understand all I think the injuries for UConn are going to now
show
come
themselves.
back to haunt them.
Yeah, they 3 of their starters are out, right? So how do you Paige Beckers, who 2 years ago was considered to be better than Caitlin Clark, and she's had multiple injuries herself. She missed a season and a half of basketball, and I think she's got a year of eligibility left, and she's coming back next year. If UConn comes back healthy, they were predicted to give South Carolina a run this year, UConn, and then all the injuries happened because South Carolina is obviously undefeated, right? I also am going to go with I think South Carolina is a given. They're going to be in the final, right? We don't even have to pick that game, right? I think we both agree South Carolina will get by and go into the final. But
it's going to be Iowa now.
It's going to be, but I agree. I think Gino Auriemma is a genius. He'll keep the game close. But I think Caitlin Clark at the end, I think Iowa will push themselves through because Iowa has a little bit more, and she facilitates those girls underneath too. She gets those girls involved under the basket, Chris. Right?
And I think they're going to give South Carolina the first loss too.
Whoa!
You heard it here first.
There's a prediction.
Caitlin Clark. Go Iowa.
There's a prediction. Go Hawkeyes.
So, Mark, let's talk about the Bruins really quick. We had a heated hotline message that came in from James from Cumberland, who basically said, "I'm out on a ledge." He said, "I'm out on a ledge. Please, I have no hope for the Bruins. Can you guys please provide me some hope?" So, James, we're going to give you a little bit of hope, okay? Because we're going to get the Yankees versus Red Sox. But I'm going to give you a little bit of hope, okay? To me, are the Bruins limping in a little bit? Yes, they are. But I'll tell you this. I feel a lot better now, okay, about the center play than I did before. Because for them to do anything this year, you were going to have to get a career year from Charlie Coyle, right? And even that with Zaka, too. And you got it. You got Charlie Coyle's having a career year. He skates well. He's got speed. His edge work is good. I mean, everything he's done well. He's done career year, and you needed that, and he's provided it. So, and Zaka's right there too. And so, to me, going into the playoffs, yes, the transition defense is still an issue. We talked about this, But I think the center play is good, Mark, right now, and I think it's better than I thought it would be. And so, James, that gives you a little bit of hope out there that I think they can make some noise and some damage based on that. And, Mark, I think it's going to also be – it's going to be Elmark. I don't think they're going to go this because Swayman just hasn't –
You don't think so? Well, we'll see.
Swayman hasn't played well enough.
But Swayman was in goal the other night against Washington.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
So, listen, somebody – I don't care who it is, Chris. I said this last year. And I'm going to continue to say it in hockey. To win a Stanley Cup, sometimes you have to have a goalie who can stand on his head and steal games when you're not playing your best hockey. And the Bruins couldn't do that last year in that series when they blew that lead. They needed the goalie in one of those games to stand on his head and steal it for them to get them to the next round. Because I firmly believe if they would have gotten through that first round, Chris, they probably would have won the Stanley Cup. But they didn't have the goalie that could do that. Neither one of those guys could steal a game for them by standing on their head and stopping everything.
Yeah.
Can that happen this year? I don't know. But they may need that. They're going to need that again, Chris. I'm telling you.
Well, we'll see. And take note of the Justin Brazo injury. That may be a big one. Hopefully Macroom can come back for the playoffs. So we'll see what happens there. Hey, next week, listen, we're going to talk Celtics preview of the playoffs. They've clinched everything. 60 wins. They've clinched the best record in basketball. Everything goes through Boston. We're going to talk about that next week. But Weekly Rewind was presented by Corso Law Group, corsolawgroup.com. Here we come back. We're going to do a quick version, a quick one of Yankees versus Red Sox. That's next.
No one ever thinks they will be in need of a criminal or traffic lawyer, but things happen. Corso Law Group is Arizona's leading criminal and traffic law firm. Their 20-plus years experience and attention to detail has helped thousands of people who found themselves in a situation in Arizona. Whether it's a traffic ticket or more serious issue, talk with these expert attorneys. CorsoLawGroup.com.
Back in with more Corso and Catone, the real deal, New England feel. All right, Yankees versus Red Sox. Joe, let's have it. Well, Mark, listen, you and I gave our predictions last week. And right now, I mean, it's Thursday. So right now it's 6-1 for the Yankees. And it's 5-2 for the Red Sox, Mark. It's early. I mean, they've only played 7 games. I get it. Out of 162. But,
hey,
they're doing some things that you didn't expect right out of the gate, right?
No.
So talk about the Yankees first.
So the Yankees, Chris, I'm going to tell you something. Juan Soto, I don't know if you got a chance to watch any of that Houston series, is so damn good. It's ridiculous. He's going to want God knows how much money. You're going to have to pay the guy, but my God, he's going to get more money than Judge. That's for sure. So his plate approach, Chris, and how he approaches an at bat, it's unbelievable. And it's actually rubbing off on the young guys like Volpe and Cabrera.
Wow, is he blowing up? What's he hitting? 400?
450. And Cabrera's hitting close to 400. The guy that's replacing LeMahieu comes back from that foot injury. He may not have a job. But if he continues to do that, but they're learning, and you've actually heard them quote things that Soto says about their approach at the plate and patience and not swinging at bad pitches. And Volpe has made it a point to do that this year because he swung at a lot of bad balls last year and has a ton of strikeouts. He's not doing that, Chris. So these guys are taking that approach. And if they can continue to do that, listen, you get Dominguez back in June, July. This lineup is maybe it finally can produce in a postseason, Chris. Listen, we're 6 games in. Talk to us in July.
Right. Yeah. No, listen, and there's some guys.
But they are good signs. Now, I know you want to talk about the pitching because you have a little issue.
Because the bullpen, but we worried about the bullpen.
And your friend, Mr. Boone.
Yeah. Well, the bullpen, I think is playing well, Mark.
Yeah.
I mean, they're pitching well. The younger guys.
Holmes scares me, Chris.
I'll talk about Holmes in a second. Okay, I'm irritated with Holmes right now. But friggin', but the younger guys, Mark, speak to that.
The young guys, Chris, these young guys, Ferguson and these guys coming out of the bullpen they're lights out, Chris. And the fifth starter, his name is Gil. It's not Gil though. It's ill. It's how the G is silent.
Yeah.
He had Tommy John surgery, Chris, and he was hurt the year before too. They've been waiting for this kid. He was supposedly one of their top prospects coming up, and then he's been hurt for a couple of years. He's throwing the ball 100 miles an hour, Chris.
Yeah.
If they can manage him, you want to talk about kids. He's got ace of the staff type of stuff, like number one starter type of stuff. I don't think they saw that. They didn't think they'd get that from him. If they can manage him, Chris, oh my God, he's not a fifth starter. That's for damn sure.
Yeah. Well, yesterday on Wednesday, the last game in the Diamondback series, Holmes got the win.
Chris,
okay?
Did you go to that game yesterday?
Yeah, I was there. I went to that.
Could you tell us how you saw it? How was that home run Judge hit? How was it, Chris? Was it good?
Joe, he's just a torturous human,
How was that home run, Chris?
The real.
Well, I heard it, but I didn't see.
You didn't see the home run. The kid's at the game. Judge, it's a bomb, and he didn't see it.
First one, his first home run of the season. I'm in line.
Oh, I was just gonna say, you're getting a hot dog.
I'm in line getting food for all my kids and all this, and I'm, what do you want? I want this. We want that. We have the other thing, popcorn and sandwiches and Chick-fil-A. Like what? And I'm in line, and all of a sudden I hear pop, and I'm like, God damn it! I'm like, because as soon as you heard it, you heard the crowd. A lot of Yankee fans there, so didn't see that one, but I saw the rest. I saw his double. I saw to go ahead in the extra innings. I saw Verdugo's home run. By the way, Verdugo needs to hit better than he is, or go back to Boston. But Holmes pissed me off in this game. Okay. He comes in and it should have been done in the ninth inning. Gets him to 2 outs, then gives up the hit. They tie it up. Okay. And then it goes to extras. I'll tell you who saved that game. Holmes got the win. Ferguson was fantastic. Okay. Not a full inning pitch. He had one hit. He had 2 Ks. Okay, and he walked one. But that was an intentional walk. So I thought it was a great game to watch and everything. But I like the young guys. I loved Ferguson in that game and that save he made. So I'm happy with New York. And Mark, flipping to Boston right now.
Yep.
I had a good time. It was fun to watch that game. By the way, it was a good game.
I'm sure it had to be fun.
With Boston for the last 5-2, Mark, as of Thursday.
Chris, the Red Sox. So they bring in a new pitching coach. Now they really pumped this kid up. They brought him in from the National League, right? And he totally changed, Chris, their philosophy for their starting pitching, and he emphasized spin and spin rate and off-speed pitching and setting things up with a ton of off-speed pitching and breaks and sweepers and 2 different types of sweepers and all this stuff. And Chris, it's working. Granted, they're 5 games in. They've played 2 teams that are going to be at the bottom of the division, so they haven't beaten anybody good yet, right? But they're winning, right? But the pitching staff, Chris, has only given up 3 walks in 6 games. That's something. 3 walks. That's a lot of strikeouts. And you know what they're getting, Chris? Last year they struggled defensively. Shortstop, center field. They now got the kid Cedar Rafaela in center field. Kid can cover a ton of ground. Great defensive center fielder. Hopefully hits a little bit. They got Story at short. The positions where they struggled last year, Chris, they did make upgrades. Now, can this pitching hold up? That's the $1 million question. We have to see that because like I said, they've played 2 bad teams. But surprisingly, Red Sox, Chris, off to a good start.
90 wins.
Oh, now he's up to 90.
Anyway.
And Chris, if they're at 90, they fight for the wild card.
Before we go, I just want to mention really quick, Larry Lucchino earlier this week passes at the age of 78. A big person in the Red Sox organization. Brought the World Series back after 100 years, was part of the titles from 04, 07, 2013. His dynamic between he and Theo and how he kept the nerds in line was fantastic, Mark. So,
the thoughts and prayers go out to his family.
Absolutely. So he's a big part of the Red Sox organization. We'll miss him and miss what he did for that organization. So Corso and Catone was presented by Corso Law Group. Hey, get on, listen. All our shows are up for you to listen and watch. And come back next week, noon Eastern. We're going to have Celtics playoffs, Bruins playoffs, Pats draft. Anything you bring to the table, we will be ready. We are Corso and Catone, the real deal New England feel. See you next Saturday.
Now find Corso and Catone on AM 790, The Score, iHeartRadio, iTunes, wherever you podcast. Or subscribe to the YouTube channel and catch the chaos every Saturday at noon.